Have you ever wondered what's really going on inside the mind of an INTJ? It's not what you think. They're not just cold robots. There's a hidden, darker logic driving every single one of their decisions. INTJs are often called the masterminds or architects, and for good reason. They seem to have it all figured out, always 10 steps ahead. But this ability doesn't come from a magical crystal ball. It comes from a unique and sometimes unsettling way of seeing the world. Today, we're diving deep into the shadows to uncover the dark logic that powers the INTJ mind. This isn't about calling them evil. It's about understanding the raw, unfiltered operating system they use to navigate life, and why it can sometimes seem so ruthless to the rest of us. So, what is this dark logic? At its core, it's a commitment to ruthless objectivity and efficiency. Imagine you're building a Lego castle. You have a picture on the box, and that's your goal. An INTJ looks at life the same way. The goal is everything. Every piece, every person, every decision is evaluated based on one simple question. Does this help me build the castle? If the answer is yes, it's useful. If the answer is no, it's a distraction, and it gets discarded. There's no room for sentimentality. It's not that they don't have feelings. It's that they view feelings as unreliable data that can compromise the structural integrity of the castle. This is powered by their dominant cognitive function, introverted intuition, or NI for short. Think of NI as a giant, internal web of connections. While most people see individual events, an INTJ's mind is constantly, subconsciously connecting dots, identifying patterns, and predicting future outcomes. They're not just looking at what's happening now, they're looking at where all the current trend lines are pointing 10 years from now. This gives them that uncanny ability to just know things without being able to explain the exact step-by-step process. Their intuition gives them the blueprint for the castle, a vision of the perfect future state. Then comes their second function, extraverted thinking, or TE. If NI is the architect who designs the blueprint, TE is the ruthless construction foreman who makes it happen. TE is all about logic, efficiency, and execution in the external world. It takes the grand vision from NI and asks, okay, what's the most logical, efficient, and direct path to get there? TE doesn't care about social niceties or whether a decision might ruffle some feathers. It's focused on results. If a process is inefficient, it must be changed. If a person is incompetent and slowing things down, they need to be removed from the project. This is where the darkness often appears to others. The INTJ isn't being mean for the sake of it. They are simply eliminating an obstacle to their goal. To them, it's as impersonal as removing a faulty piece of machinery. Let me tell you about a friend of mine, an INTJ named Alex. Alex was working on a major project at his company. He and his team had been working for months. But one team member, let's call him Bob, was consistently underperforming. Bob was a nice guy. Everyone liked him, and he'd been with the company for years. Most managers would try to coach him, move him around, or just tolerate the inefficiency to keep the peace. But Alex saw it differently. To him, Bob wasn't just a slow worker. He was a critical flaw in the system that was jeopardizing the entire project. Success the castle was at risk of crumbling. So, what did Alex do? He gathered concrete data on Bob's performance, documented every missed deadline and error, and built an undeniable, logical case. Then, he went straight to his boss and recommended Bob be removed from the project, or even the company. His boss was shocked. The other team members were uncomfortable. They called Alex cold and heartless. They couldn't understand how he could do that to good old Bob. But in Alex's mind, it was the only logical choice. Keeping Bob on the team out of sentimentality was, to him, an illogical and irresponsible decision that threatened the jobs of everyone else if the project failed. He surgically removed the problem, and the project went on to be a huge success. This is the dark logic in action. The goal is paramount, and emotional attachments are a liability. Now, this approach creates a huge problem for INTJs, especially in their relationships. The world doesn't run on pure, cold logic. It runs on emotion, social connection, and messy human feelings. The INTJ's logical framework, which is so effective for achieving goals, can be devastating when applied to people. When a friend comes to them with a problem, the INTJ's first instinct isn't to offer a hug and say, "That sounds so hard." Their instinct is to activate T and say, "Okay, here are the 3 logical flaws in your approach. Do A, B, and C to fix it." Problem solved. They see themselves as being incredibly helpful. They're offering a solution, but to the friend, it feels invalidating and cold, as if their feelings don't matter. This is the central conflict in an INTJ's life. Their internal operating system is fundamentally at odds with the external social world. They live in a constant state of translation, trying to figure out why people are so illogical and why their perfectly rational solutions are met with emotional backlash. It can be incredibly isolating. They often feel misunderstood, like they're speaking a different language that no one else can comprehend. They see the most efficient path forward, but they're surrounded by people who seem to prefer walking in circles because it feels nicer. This can lead to a deep cynicism and a tendency to withdraw from a world they perceive as chaotic and irrational. But what happens when an INTJ starts to develop their other functions? This is where the story gets interesting. Their third function is introverted feeling, or PHE. PHE is all about personal values, authenticity, and understanding one's own emotions. For a young INTJ, PHE is like a locked room in their mind palace. They know it's there, but they don't have the key, and they're a little afraid of what's inside. It's the source of those pesky feelings that get in the way of their logic. However, as they mature, they slowly begin to unlock that door. Developing PHE is the INTJ's journey from being a pure mastermind to becoming a wise and effective leader. It's the process of integrating their own values and ethics into their logical framework. Instead of just asking, "Is this efficient?" they start to ask, "Is this right? Does this align with who I want to be?" They learn that their own feelings, and the feelings of others, are not just noise. They are a crucial part of the human equation. They begin to understand that the most efficient solution isn't always the best solution, especially if it leaves a trail of human collateral damage. Let's go back to Alex. Years later, he was faced with a similar situation. A young, enthusiastic, but struggling employee was holding back a team. The old Alex would have fired her on the spot. But this time, he did something different. His logic, T, still identified the problem, and his intuition, Ni, still saw the long-term risk. But now, his developing values, Phi, chimed in. He remembered how it felt to be misunderstood, and saw a bit of his own past struggles in this young employee. He realized that firing her wasn't the only option. The castle didn't just have to be built. It had to be a good castle, built by a team that felt supported. So, he took her aside. He still used his TA directness, laying out the performance issues with clear data, but then he switched gears. He asked her what was going on, listened to her struggles, and used his problem-solving mind to help her, not just to fix the project. He implemented a mentorship plan and adjusted her role to better suit her strengths. The result? The employee thrived, became a valuable asset, and the team's morale skyrocketed. Alex achieved his goal, but he did it with wisdom and humanity, not just cold logic. He didn't abandon his logic. He enhanced it with empathy. This is the key moment for an I. It's the realization that true mastery isn't just about building the perfect system. It's about understanding how that system fits into the complex, messy, beautiful tapestry of humanity. The dark logic never goes away. It's their superpower, but they learn to wield it with a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. They learn that sometimes the most logical long-term strategy is to invest in people, even when it seems inefficient in the short term. So, the dark logic behind every INTJ decision is a relentless drive for objective truth and efficiency, powered by future-oriented pattern recognition. It can seem cold and ruthless because it prioritizes the goal over feelings and social harmony. But this isn't a story of a villain. It is the story of a unique mind, learning to balance its powerful logical engine with the wisdom of the human heart. The INTJ's greatest challenge and ultimate triumph is learning to build their castle not just efficiently, but with a foundation of understanding and purpose. They learn that the strongest structures are not those devoid of humanity, but those that are designed to support it. Now that you understand the INTJ's mind, click the video on screen to discover the one personality type they secretly can't stand.